and welcome to this week's Soap Scoop. Now, as you can see, the three of us are back again because we had such a fun time doing it together last week. And we've had some really lovely comments from you on the YouTube. So please stay tuned because we're going to read some of those out again and really get into your theories. Meanwhile, before we get into the top stories of the week, which of course include Corrie's killer mystery, we're finally going to break down the suspects and who might be in the frame for that. We've also got some big stuff going on with Emmerdale. Moira's got her shotgun out again. And EastEnders, it's a big return for Grant, and we're going to get into that as well. But first of all, myself and Mr. Johnny Hughes were very lucky to go to Coronation Street last week to get a preview of the Swarla wedding and, of course, this big killer week that's coming up. And we even met some of you at the gates of Corrie. So a big wave and shout out to those of you that stopped us. That was lovely, wasn't it, Johnny?
It was so nice. They did say some really nice things at the podcast, which we thank you for. Now, particularly, they said that they like it when Chloe disagrees with the other opinions on the show. You know, you can't never accuse Chloe of not sitting on the fence, I guess. But yeah, they were. What do you think about that, Chloe? Obviously, you weren't there to defend yourself because you didn't come to Corrie. Sorry, just to rub it in.
I mean,
We've got to get this day out.
you were living the glamorous lifestyle of soap journalists on the set of Corrie, watching the Swarla wedding. Where was I? The opticians getting yellow dye put in my eyes. So, yeah, really, really not fair on that one. But how lovely. This is the first I'm hearing of this. So it's very exciting. I cannot hold my opinions down, as you know, very passionate. So it's nice to know that people enjoy me getting a bit spicy.
Chloe is a very private person. She doesn't like to say what she thinks about anything, of course. But, you know, if it makes you feel better, Chloe, you're at the opticians. Well, Johnny was almost crying when he spotted some of his favourite Coronation Street stars walking down the cobbles when we were going around the street.
Yeah, so we went onto the street, which is always brilliant. Like we're so lucky we get to do things like that. It's not the first time we've been on the street, lucky us. But it's always a bit magical. And then we had to go back off because they were starting to film. And Leanne and Toya, or Jane Danson and Georgia Taylor, if they're not actually real people. So two of my fave characters were coming out to film, and they're my faves. I got really excited.
How did you cope, Johnny? Because I know you and Jane Danson, she's like your idol.
She is my idol. I think she's amazing, and Leanne's one of my fave characters. Obsessed. And yeah, I think Laura Jane was slightly looking like I was, a dog off the leash, like a puppy going out for the first time. And I was going to go up and jump up at her, wanting some attention and some fuss. I didn't do any of that. And I'm purely professional at all times. But it was really exciting to see, Nana Toya walking down the cobbles. So yeah, hello to you both. I didn't approach you because I didn't want to look a bit strange. But anyway, it was good to see you.
It was a fun moment because when you go to these days, you know which cast you're going to interact with and do interviews with. But this was pure chance that they happened to be walking past on their way to film a scene. And we also saw Ben Price, who plays Nick, and they were just walking down the cobbles. And that's when you get a bit like when you recognise them and you realise because you're not meant to see them really.
I know what it was, Bonus Battersby, and I'm always here for Bonus Battersby content. So
I think people will imagine that all of us kind of are used to seeing the stars and don't get starstruck. And I can tell you now that's completely not true. We all get really excited doing interviews. And if there's someone that we really particularly want to interview or meet, the moment we get to do so is just magic, isn't it? It's pure magic.
It is. And, that day was to preview the Swarla wedding, which is on this week after you listen to this podcast. And there was a journalist that I was sitting next to. I won't name her just in case she gets embarrassed from a rival publication. And she was actually crying tears at Lisa and Carla's wedding, which is so beautiful. I know we said last week, they deserve this perfect wedding, but it really couldn't have been more perfect, that episode. I think Corrie really did Swarla justice. And then, of course, we were talking about the killer week and who all the suspects are. But it was just amazing because we got to meet other cast as well. Sue Devaney was a highlight for you, Johnny.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the 80s. So I remember her first time round in Corrie as 16-year-old Debbie Webster. So Sue Devaney, it's her first job, I think. And then in Johnny Briggs, if anyone's old enough to remember the kids show Johnny Briggs, she's been in everything. She's obviously been around for years, loads of stuff with Victoria Wood, loads of comedy and theatre and, a bit of everything. So and I have, been lucky enough to interview her, but having a chat with Sue Devaney in Underworld with the Swarla wedding buffet, I mean, pinch me, I'm done. But yeah, she was so much fun. And we talked about Dinner Ladies. I know this is a soaps podcast, but she's in the sitcom Dinner Ladies, iconic. But yeah, she's lovely. But it is just, I feel like I know her, which does sound a bit stalkery because I've grown up, watching her on screen, like I've, seen all these soap characters. But I did, like we were saying, I always wanted Debbie Webster to come back. She wasn't actually in it for that long when she joined in the early mid with the rest of the Websters. She only stayed a year or two. So yeah, I feel like somehow I manifested Debbie Webster coming back about 5 years ago. It's all down to me. You're welcome.
When it first got announced that she was doing this storyline, there was uproar because people were like, no, not our Debbie Webster. But actually, had she not had this storyline, we never would have got to see the amazing range of stuff that she's done since then. And it breaks my heart.
Yeah,
How
it's heartbreaking, and it gives, it is, yeah, very bittersweet, but it does give Debbie and Sue Devaney a chance to shine, to be in the spotlight and to get some really meaty, gritty stuff. But, it's still just, so upsetting to think what's ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can tell you might have seen video interviews with Sue already, but if you haven't, then she was actually debuting some pink hair, which she did kind of tell us is part of Debbie's story going on as she's, living life and making some different choices. And it really suited her.
I always think that both Sue and Debbie have the most amazing fashion. Like there was a red carpet that Sue did once, and I was like, I need that outfit. She looks amazing.
She really did. And there was loads of other really great people there as well. Look out for the coming issues of Inside Soap magazine because we got a one-to-one chat with the lovely Vinta Morgan, who plays Ronnie, Debbie's other half, who is her knight in shining armour a lot of the time. But we also got a lovely one-to-one with Sydney Martin, which is going to come out in the coming weeks, who of course plays Betsy. And so with some really lovely things from her as well. So yeah, a really lovely day. Thanks for having us as always, Corrie. That leads us on nicely to the Killer Week, which is previewed in this week's magazine. Now we can tell you that what happens this week is you're going to see perspectives of each potential victim as the week goes on before you find out who the dead body is. Our Johnny has been immersed in writing that up. So there's no corner of this murder mystery that is left unturned. But because we, as journos and soap fans, we've been discussing this at length, we thought we would go to your comments immediately on the YouTube as to who you think it is first. But before I do that, Johnny, what can you say from this deep dive that you've taken into this murder mystery?
Johnny Hughes reporting live from Weatherfield. Yeah, so I've been kind of assigned to be the man on the cobbles, to look at each aspect of this special week. It's really clever, it's really tricksy, it's really intricate because, yeah, you see the same thing but from all these different kind of angles. So much is revealed as well. Like you think, like the wedding itself, loads of stuff happens and there's going to be a lot where you go, oh, wow, that's intriguing. Does that mean it's going to be them or whatever? But there's so much more that you haven't seen yet that you will see. And I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't want to give too much away. There's lots. Megan and Maggie there's some very unexpected stuff there and stuff that is quite the curveball that you won't see really, and you won't get the flavor of some significant twists and turns in both their storylines, but also what kind of brings Maggie and Megan sort of together. Very, very exciting. So I would definitely keep your eyes on those two in particular. But yeah, I do feel like I'm a news anchor or something, or I'm reporting, live. I'm bringing you all the details.
Live from the scene of the actual murder. Were you there, stood over the dead body?
Yeah, in a trench coat with it raining and a boom mic in shot. Yeah, that was me.
Now I'm suddenly thinking of you as like Inspector Gadget. Do you remember that?
Or Inspector Clouseau, I think that's more me.
Oh, Gadget, go.
Yeah, I'd love to be Inspector Gadget. Remember he had those big tall legs. I could just hop over and go into all the soap sets and have a snoot round. Yeah, Inspector Gadget.
We're showing our age, definitely. Right. Well, so I'll read out some of the theories that you've been putting on the YouTube. Now, this one, I feel like I've missed something here, so my two colleagues might be able to help. Mabel UK 6272 says, if you listen to the police interview with Lisa's daughter, she says she went back in for her wallet. I think the body was in Carla's house. Jodie, possibly, or Graham. Silence.
I mean, I don't remember. I haven't watched that episode since it aired, so I can't remember Betsy's police interview that well to know, because I know she was going clubbing, which we all thought was a bit odd at the time, but isn't the body found outside? Johnny, you're the expert on this.
Well, I think it is. I don't want to spoil too much because, again, there's things I'd be privy to. However, I will just say the G word was uttered, Chloe, and you didn't explode with rage. And the G.
And I was holding it in because my gut instinct was to say kill Graham, but it's not Corriedale, it's Coronation Street. I don't think Graham's going to pop up.
The G was uttered, Johnny, and you didn't do. Corrie, I was about to say the G word was uttered and you didn't do an impression, and then you started to do one. So sorry, I didn't quite hear that. What did you say?
I was called ridiculous. I'm not showing up anymore.
He's here.
Yeah, he's behind you.
Well, there is the I wonder whether we're going to get a bit of a Graham mention, because some kind of people from Jodie's past show up this week, don't they? And so I'm hoping we do actually find a bit more about why Jodie was the problem that Graham had to get rid of, because so far, I mean, I've seen a lot of people say this, that Jodie's in this lineup of some really horrendous people, and what she really done that's so bad, keep a box of weird trinkets and kind of be a little bit of a meddler. She hasn't done that much, has she really?
Yeah, wait till this week because maybe there's other stuff that.
There's some very interesting photos of Jodie this week, that's all I'll say.
Yes, and she is about to do possibly her most dastardly deed yet. So yeah, do watch this space. I'd love it if Graham showed up. Like we all, apart from Chloe, we are all hoping for that, right? For that link to be revisited.
I want to know, as much as I'm not a Graham fan, I really am desperate to know kind of what the link is. That's kind of one of the biggest mysteries we still haven't had solved yet.
She's the person he's phoning.
Yeah, Jodie is the secret mastermind behind trying to poison Kim. So maybe. I mean, what I will say is we saw some previews of this week, and I don't want to give too much away, but in amongst the killer drama, there is some comedy to be had, and we will say that occurs within Jodie's strand. Do keep watching that if you want a bit of light relief to this.
Yeah, some things can't be unseen. That's all I'll say. Jodie episode involving the Platt family. Some things can't be unseen. I'll leave it.
Right. We'll leave it there. We'll move on to the next comment. So I've got one from Kieran Lum Z7R. If it is Megan, Maggie could do the deed but blame Eva. We know Kath Tilsley is filming Good Ship Murder, so will be away from the cobbles for a period of time. Could she be in prison during this period? And then Ben discovers that not only did Maggie kill Megan, but also Alan, and setting Maggie up to be the next serial killer on the street.
That is one hell of a theory. Like, I love the detail in that. And kind of weaving in backstage gossip. Fantastic. I can't see Eva being imprisoned. I hope not. That would make the Rovers a very different atmosphere. But Maggie as a serial killer, I don't know. I feel like we've not long had lovely Uncle Stephen on the street, and it feels maybe too soon for another sort of slightly camp arch serial killer. But I don't know.
It's Coronation Street. There's no such thing as too soon. I can definitely see Maggie as serial killer energy. Do you know what? That's I can visualize that. And Eva in prison, she'd get an Oscar. Like, surely the actual torment of not having her hair straighteners, her nails, whatever the girls do, I don't know, but stripping Eva bare of all of that. I just think we've never seen someone as so traumatized as if that were to happen. Eva in prison, that would be gold.
I can hard relate to how Eva would feel in those circumstances, without my hair tools and getting my nails done. I'm a superficial creature, I will admit to that.
What about when your hair straighteners broke recently, Laura Jane, and it was a dark day?
I did have a full-scale meltdown in the office, and I did what any self-respecting woman of my age would do and call my 75-year-old father to come round and fix the tool. Well, there we go. I feel like
Thoughts and prayers.
But Eva, certainly. That would be, I mean, who hasn't been out of a Corrie prison? Eva's surely due a turn. That is a really fun theory. Okay, I've got another quite long one here, and we do quite like these ones that have really put some thought into it. So Julie McGugan 1244. As far as summer, after Paul died and Todd began to move on with Theo, then it was announced that Billy would die. I felt like I did when Katie Harris killed her dad. Okay, this gets a bit dark, but she then obviously her storyline completed in the way that it did, and her mum took the rap for her husband's murder. It was inevitable that Craig Harris, not our Craig Tinker, was going to leave. That family felt doomed since Tommy Harris's death. I've kind of felt the same way since Paul died and then Billy so soon after. So what they're saying is it feels like Summer's on her way out.
Yeah, I think with all her dads, 2 out of 3 of her dads gone, I guess she does feel quite isolated. She's still got her female friendship group, but we don't see them as often. I think it would be nice to see Summer get something quite juicy, and I'd almost feel like I feel like Summer would be a great killer. I mean, I don't mean that in a we really want her to be a killer, but I feel like it's vindication, isn't it? Think about what Theo did to Billy. I feel like, Billy deserves that justice. And I feel like Summer would be quite a good candidate for that if
But
Theo is the one.
if you got it in her though, sweet Summer. I mean, I know
One. If, anyone can be a killer in soap, can't they?
it's true. Soap is about pushing people into these things, but I don't know. That would be a twist.
Imagine if you're her and he's standing there kind of taunting her about Billy's death and I remember that awful seatbelt clipping. If he really rubs that in, I reckon she could be pushed.
So Summer could be a serial killer in the making. Never mind Maggie Driscoll.
Well, some people here are actually saying that it might be a bit of a shock and that Summer might actually be the victim. So Fleeson 771, I've got this feeling the murder victim is Summer. I think it's going to come as a massive shock because there was something about Betsy being totally shell-shocked at the police station interview. What could be more shocking than Betsy seeing someone as young as Summer dead in the street? That would be a shock.
That would be heartbreaking. I feel like, that would explain why Betsy's so upset, because at the moment, how well does she really know any of the lineup to be crying? But then I guess it's the shock, isn't it, of stumbling across a dead body.
And also more than one body. Like I've heard this, obviously Corrie have kind of come out and said, yep, here's the 5, definitely one of those. But soaps love a twist, and soaps sometimes like to lead us a little bit down the garden path for lols. What about more than one victim? I'm not ruling that out. So maybe Summer, and that would be so tragic, wouldn't it? Because then it's like that whole kind of family would have gone. But possibly more than one victim.
Andrea McDonald Black 9201 says, we know Theo is leaving. Maybe he accidentally mistook Megan for Summer and kills her instead of the intended victim. That will take care of those two then.
I quite like that idea of like a mistaken identity, and obviously it's dark. I think we said last time, what if they're kind of some people wearing hoods? It could easily happen. And I think Summer and Megan, I'd imagine, would be similar heights, both blonde. And that would be a great twist.
It's a theory that we're really, really investing in, isn't it? I feel this could happen. Also, if remember your classic Hollyoaks, Silas killed his own daughter thinking it was someone else because she was in a fancy dress costume. These things happen in soap, so could be.
June Calhane 9302. June has taken the time to actually comment on every single soap opera that we discuss. So the fact that you watch all of them like we do, wow, that is quite a commitment. We applaud you. They say, for the list of suspects, I would go for Megan, as she was the only one that was announced as a short-term character. Only other characters, they say, are Theo will be leaving in the summer. My red herring would be Mal. Also, the way that Betsy said about the person didn't need to die like that. I don't think she would say that if it was Theo.
Yeah, if it was Theo, I think you'd think any death will do after what he's done to Todd in recent weeks. Would you shed a tear for Theo? I don't know.
Probably not. Actually, we're talking off the back of that really powerful week that's just been on screen. The writers group chat on Inside Soap was really going off once everybody had watched that episode. And, people saying that they didn't want to watch it at their desk. They kind of want to go home and watch it in the comfort of their living room because it's going to be quite powerful. So after everything we saw Todd go through in recent weeks, I'm not sure any of us really are going to cry many tears for Theo. So that's a good point. Absolutely. Well, there's so many comments here. I could honestly spend all day reading them, but we're going to have to move on to Emmerdale for our loyal Emmerdale listeners. And we may even circle back round to some of your comments. But we should say, yes, this is a big week for Moira getting out her shotgun again. It's not the first time that someone has stared down the barrel of Moira's gun. This time it is Joe Tate. Are any of us surprised?
No, I think it's deserved, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
Also, I can't wait to see that new musical, Moira Get Your Gun. I hear it's great.
I don't know. Is this like just an Emmerdale thing, like where it's
It's a
perfectly?
Moira thing. It's a Moira thing. She just can't resist threatening people.
She's got surely. I mean, if you were bold enough to go and pick up your shotgun every time someone upset you, surely you'd get up there, say everything you've got to say, know that you probably came close to pulling the trigger and didn't. Wouldn't that be enough for you to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that again? It's a bit of an overreaction.
Also, she's just come out of prison. Like, of all the stupid things to do. I mean, I love Moira, don't get me wrong, but she's just come out of prison. Like, I would be at home knitting, doing the most innocent things ever. I wouldn't even leave the house, wouldn't even go to Sainsbury's. I would just be in the comfort of my own home, looking as angelic as possible, just in case Dia Schwartz comes to the door again. And it's like, oh, we found this random bit of evidence that's got nothing to do with you, but now we're going to pin you with another murder. Like, I would not be going around there with a shotgun.
Yeah, keep it clean, Moira. Keep that rap sheet as clean as possible.
Also, we know Moira loves a bit of physical violence. I'd kind of rather see her go around there and give Joe a good old Glasgow kiss.
Absolutely. And, you know, this isn't the first time that she's been round to Home Farm itself brandishing a gun, because Kim was on the receiving end of this when Kim and Jamie had done Moira dirty in the past. I think because Jamie had set fire to the barn or something that Kyle just happened to be in, and Moira went round with a shotgun. And yeah, she's certainly had a pop at other people in recent times as well. So it just seems a bit like, you know, been there, got the t-shirt, threatened Kim Tate. Why bother you time on Joe?
I mean, I agree with you there. I also think I would have quite liked to see her with the pitchfork again. That would have been quite fun. I think Joe would have been running, screaming a little bit more.
I love for
Joe's such a slippery snake, isn't he? I mean, we joke about the kid thing. We gloss over the limo thing. He got pushed out the window, and then Dawn just was like, "Oh yeah, let's get back together." He's got away with so much, and although I absolutely adore him as a villain, I think the village absolutely needs someone like him that we can all boo and hiss at, and he's just, you know, deplorable to every single person. He really does need some sort of comeuppance.
Yeah, and I know I've said this before, but I really like the idea of Joe versus Robert when Robert finally decides to embrace like the wily schemer, you know, because the two of them are so matched in that respect. The only thing that Joe has got, you know, Joe's got the power because he's had the evidence of Victoria killing John, and obviously he's got all the money. So it's like he just comes out on top. But I feel like if Robert could topple him, then that would be something that's all shooting for.
he could play him at his own game like no one else really. But as you say, we need Robert to get in touch with his, like, you know, his bad old self. But do you think
this is the week where Robert ends up kind of telling Moira about the IDs, obviously, because that's why she ends up going around there with Joe. So Moira knows now. So the more people that know that Robert was set up, the shackles of the guilt hopefully will free up. And I like you say, I'd absolutely love to see him and Joe go toe to toe, because there was a glimmer of that the other week when he said to Ross, like, do you wanna take Joe down? And Ross was like, yeah, I'm game. And that was so much fun. Like, I want to see more of that.
I will happily watch anything that involves more Ross, because he is by far one of my favourite characters, and we're still bubbling along to the big reveal with now that Charity's had the baby.
I can't wait for that story to kick in, because obviously we've had it's been a lot on our screens recently, but there is still a lot to come. I don't know, Ross becomes such a more comedic character, just in terms of his sarcasm and his wit, even in the drama and the serious moments. Can you imagine what he's going to come out with? Imagine the quips. I just can't wait.
They write so well for Ross. And we were saying, because there's pictures in the magazine this week that we're previewing of Sarah and Jacob cooing over the baby. And we were all saying, we were like, oh, I don't know how much more I can watch of that.
Right there. We've got an Inside Soap Says, the collective voice of the magazine, which is basically like, get on with it, explode the secret, create the chaos. And that's what I can't wait for.
We should also say that on the back of Moira going nuts with her shotgun, there's a special episode that you need to tune in for involving Moira and Kane, and obviously the impact of the prostate cancer surgery that he is due to have and what that's been having on their marriage. We've got a really lovely interview in the magazine, a joint big interview with Jeff Hordley and Natalie J. Robb. And it's not just, talking about this current storyline for them. It's almost looking back at the past however many years of Kane and Moira. Like, if you think about them, you just forget, don't you, that Moira was all loved up with John Barton, strapping John Barton, who you wouldn't kick out of bed. But then Kane
Him out of bed because she ran into the barn with Kane Dingles.
It was the garage, it was the barn, it was anywhere they could get it on, and we loved them for it. And I loved Moira and John, but Moira and Kane had just got that special something. And the recent episodes where they got it on in the hospital was just an exact example of just like, we love them. We love seeing them kind of in that slightly, saucy state of mind. They're just brilliant together.
it was a bit Carry On Doctor, but I'm just going to say to you, Chloe, I actually couldn't I couldn't deal with those episodes in the hospital. It was just a bit for me. Like,
Why?
I don't know, there's something to do with the hospital gown. Just
The clinical setting. No, I kind of felt I'm going to be a bit weird now. I found it a bit sexy, but it was nothing to do with the hospital gown. I just thought, I just imagine being Kane and Moira. You've been distant for so long, and then finally, I mean, it is a bit manky getting it on.
Dr. Mayer was like earwigging outside. Like, that was all a bit weird. Like, what was happening to his patients while he was... Did God...
And like, he didn't even want to look in the hospital. He just is like randomly put on some scrubs and was like, yeah, I'm just gonna pretend to be a doctor today so you two can get it on. I think
Hygiene.
no, I'm sorry, I'm standing up for all the Kane and Moira fans, all the Coira fans. I'm with you. It was very, very romantic and sexy, and I loved it.
I couldn't get my head around it. I just, like...
I'd say romance is dead. If that's what passes for romance, we're done.
I'll take what I can get, Johnny.
Good for you.
It's all coming out now. Right, now on that note, we will move on to EastEnders because it's a really big week for Nigel and the return of Grant Mitchell. Now, this is something that we've been debating in the office. I'll hold my hands up and say I'm a big fan of 90s EastEnders, so a return for Grant Mitchell is a big deal for me. Doesn't matter how often we get it. It's like, Grant's coming back. Wow, this is a big event. This is total fanfare. But a colleague in the office argued that really when he comes back, like, it's a bit lackluster and it doesn't quite land. So, I mean, I disagree with that, but you two, what are your thoughts on it?
I feel like we probably should have had Louise on the podcast because she is one of the young ones. We're all too old to answer this question, I think, because we live on nostalgia and our youth. She is the youth. So was she born in the 90s? I don't even know. But
Yeah.
I feel like for us, it's still a special thing. Like for me, the fact that Ross Kemp even wants to come back feels like a special thing. And having the Mitchell brothers reunited and having Sam there as well, I just still get a kick out of it. I can't help it.
I agree. I am 802. So I do love nostalgia, EastEnders, and remembering the Mitchells coming into it. It's still something very special when they're on screen together. And also, last time there wasn't a lot of just Phil and Grant. I feel like we're going to get quite a lot of that in Grant's return coming up. There's so much going on with Phil. The 40th anniversary when Grant was back last time that perhaps we didn't get enough just of the brothers and of Nigel. And I have to say, I'm absolutely delighted that EastEnders have remembered that Grant was Nigel's best mate initially, and Grant and Phil are only best mates now because of Grant, because Grant and Nigel were the same age in the same year at school. Nigel used to go around the Mitchells for his tea when he was a kid and became an honorary member of the family. But it's Nigel and Grant's friendship that is the key to Nigel's character. He was introduced in the 90s as Grant's like quirky schoolmate, and look at geeky Nigel and tough nut Grant. Imagine them as unlikely friends at school. It's just a lovely kind of image. And I always think, I was a bit of a nerd at school and still am, thank you. Having a best mate like Grant to protect you in the playground, that would have been very nice. And I just love imagining that bromance that's gone on for all these decades. So I am really, really pleased they got Grant to be back as part of Nigel's, swan song, really. And yes, we love it when he's with Sharon, and yes, we love him and Phil together. But yeah, well done, Enders, for getting Ross back to do this part of the story. My only fear, it's only been a year since Grant was back, and while I am pleased, I'm contradicting myself. He is back for this. Don't dilute Grant's return. We need at least a decade, don't we, between Grant returns to make it feel special, don't we? But yeah, glad he's back for his old mate.
I think it's a nice bookend in a way, because when Grant and Nigel said goodbye at the tube station the last time Grant was here, I found it so moving because it felt like a real final goodbye. And it kind of was, because the point where Grant returns now, Nigel is so unwell that we're even at the stage where we don't know whether he's going to remember Grant. And I think that is so heartbreaking. And we've talked before about kind of Debbie's story and Nigel's story and kind of that deterioration. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. And so I am glad in some ways that Grant's back, because I feel like he should be. But also, like, is it going to be so much sadder to see them say goodbye and not quite know who each other is? And yeah, that breaks my heart a bit.
Yeah, that definitely, everything that Johnny's just said, all the things that we love that friendship for, but in this storyline, it may not be that Nigel remembers any of it. So that is going to be sad. But I was going to say as well, I mean, obviously Grant is back for Nigel, but it does give us an opportunity to see the Mitchell bros together again, which is always such a powerful proposition on screen, because the chemistry between the two of them has just been there from day one. I mean, the only regret is that Sharon's not around to really stoke that fire. I feel like last time when Grant was back, we didn't see enough of Grant and Phil together, because Phil was so inside his own head, kind of battling his demons. Grant couldn't really get through to him. So I feel like it'll be nice to see some really in-depth stuff between the brothers, especially since Phil knows that Grant and Sharon slept together.
Yeah. That's going to be fun, isn't it? Finding out kind of what that reaction's going to be like. And there's also Mark, because we've now got Mark on the square, new Mark, and it's going to be interesting to see what his relationship is like with Grant, because obviously they're very estranged. They know who each other is, but they don't really have a father and son relationship. And I feel like with Mark, who's only been like haven't they?
Do you think Grant's going to put Emmerdale on though and point at Joe Tate and say he looks familiar?
Yeah, but like, what's happened to my boy?
He's on ITV.
Well, that could happen. I mean, it was amazing, really, that in Corriedale there wasn't more of that. We had that really fun scene where Steve thought he recognised Vikram when it was really Jay driving the van. It was very, very good. Well, we'll see. I think this promises to be a really special week for EastEnders. I think if you're not watching currently and you maybe did back in the day, this is a time to jump in. And if you are following the storyline, definitely stick with it, because I think it's going to be quite a poignant week for them. Before we let you go, let's just refer to a few more of your comments on the YouTube. Now, this one is for Miss Chloe, because obviously last week we were discussing Swarla in great detail, even down to the detail of Lisa's dress. And it had like this mesh and these pearls. And RBXJ9KR says, why is Chloe catty about Lisa's dress?
Quite offended by the word catty. I wasn't being catty. I love Lisa. I'm a big Lisa fan. Vicky Myers is stunning, absolutely beautiful. I just didn't like the pearls. I just thought it a bit weird. Like, I think cut that bit off the jumpsuit and it would have been perfect. But yeah, it's always hard to know like what they're going to wear, especially when someone like Carla's been married so many times, and I don't think Alison King was that fond of being in a big meringue. So I feel like the kind of slightly more casual suits and jumpsuits was a good fit. But yeah, I just wasn't a big fan of her outfit. I'm sorry.
No, it's fair enough, Chloe. That's your opinion, and we've, both of you have been able to put your feelings across. So I'm glad that we addressed that. Johnny, this might be one for you. It's controversial if you're an Emmerdale fan of Sadie King. Candy Sue S6N says, Sadie King, I hope it's not true about her return. What's with the soaps bringing back all old characters? Are they desperate for ideas?
Well, there's so many ideas, surely, with Sadie's potential return, as we kind of said last week. Doesn't sound like a big Patsy Kensit 8th Wonder fan, does she? You can't please everybody. But I think nostalgia, like we've said, a lot of soap fans love nostalgia, but not all of them. So that's a fair point. But I think, yeah, I don't most soap fans like to sort of revisit the past a little bit. And, who wouldn't want Patsy shimmying out of a helicopter in a faux fur. Just me? I don't know.
I mean, everyone loves watching classic Corrie, Enders, and Emmerdale on ITV2 or 3 or whatever it's on, and the drama channels. So I feel like everyone does love a bit of nostalgia.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, personally, I do, just because I've been watching them for a while, and I think Sadie is an exciting proposition. But if you were not a fan of hers, that is absolutely okay. I love this comment from June Culhane 9302. Since EastEnders announced the throuple storyline, they were never going to send Jasmine to jail. Now that Zoe has found her kids, I am hoping that the writers will start a decent storyline for Zoe. Now, she must, of course, be referring to these rumours that obviously there's going to be a bit of a back and forth Oscar between Jasmine and Josh. What do we think about that?
Well, we've said all along they kind of had to. Number one, he's the son of Max Branning. I mean, sleeping with multiple siblings in the same soap family is a very tropey thing that most soaps go down. So it kind of feels quite fitting, quite fun. I think it's already quite fun. You can see that Oscar's like super awkward around Josh, is trying not to spend any time with him at all. Brilliant scenes last week where he was being kind of awkwardly massaged by Josh in the hair salon and then ran out almost screaming with all this goo on his hair because he didn't want to be touched by Josh. And yeah, well, he did want to be touched by Josh. I think that was the whole point. But yeah, it's already quite fun. I feel, I know this is controversial, LJ, because I know you don't agree. I'm really starting to warm to Jasmine. I'm really starting to feel sorry for her. And I feel like she is going to be the big casualty in this because I think the audience is behind Josh and Oscar. I think they are secretly probably growing feelings. I think she's going to be left out in the cold again.
I mean, I am, I'm willing to hear Jasmine out and have her atone for killing her own father and making her right, or someone dance a bit. But we'll see if she can redeem herself. Then I'm here for that. Maybe we will tug on the heartstrings if everybody is rooting for. Is it Joshka? Is that what?
Joshka, I think, yeah.
Joshka.
I think that could be Jasmine or Josh and Oscar. So who?
No, because that would more be like Jazz Car, I think. It's very close. Now, maybe there is another Jasmine Oscar ship name that I'm not aware of. I know they have their fans as well, and we don't want to leave them out. But
We can workshop that. I will say though, in response to that comment, I do feel Zoe does need a plot of her own, and I'd like to see Zoe get to know her kids now. But Zoe's almost been left behind in this plot. It is now, and it is really exciting. Oscar, Josh, Jasmine, that's really fun. But wasn't this whole thing meant to be about Zoe Slater 20 years later, looking for her kids and all of that? She needs to come back into this plot, or she needs something of her own. What I do want to see though is angry Grandma Cat have a word with Oscar when she realizes that he's been messing her granddaughter about, because he will not know what's hit him.
Absolutely, that is a very good point. Now we're going to end on this one from Cecile6039. I love this because I don't feel like there's a lot of support from Mac in Emmerdale. It's always like, people almost blame him still for splitting up Charity and Vanessa, and the poor guy gets a bit rough ride. So I quite like this comment because it flies in the face of all of that. It says, can't wait for Mac to find out the truth about the baby and finally dump that cringe dingle woman for good.
I did see that comment, and I also did see a comment that was very anti-Mac as well. So I feel like there's a bit of balance in the comments, but kind of impartial on that front. I feel like I was looking this week, and Mac has hardly been in Emmerdale this year, which has been quite surprising. But I'm guessing that's because later in the year he's going to be quite busy when all the baby stuff comes out. It's and when that happens. I don't love Charity and Mac together, but I don't hate them together. So I'm kind of like, whatever will be, will be. I don't really feel strongly either way. But if they do break up, I don't really know what happens to Mac because he's a bit floundering at the moment, isn't he, really?
Yeah, he does need, I don't know, a revenge fling. I'm feeling like that might be in his future. I don't know who with. Yeah, I'm not sure. He is a bit rudderless, but I feel, he's probably, maybe Lawrence Robb's just had a nice big holiday, learning his lines for all those massive explosive scenes with Charity and Ross that are surely coming up at some point. But yeah, revenge fling for Mac.
That's a good. Do you know what? We're going to workshop this. It may appear as a feature in the.
It's your comments. Who do you?
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I
well,
feel like it could be male or female, because I feel like Mackenzie, I don't think that would be any kind of, issue for him. I think that it could be anybody.
yeah, it could be. Maybe it's Graham.
Hello, would you like a revenge fling? Yaksa, turn off.
Well, what a wonderful note to end this week's episode on. Do leave your comments about who you think could be a revenge fling for Mac. And please don't forget to like and subscribe as well, because we are really enjoying the audience that we've got on here these days. So thank you very much, and we will see you again soon.